At the beginning of the podcast, we were talking about mindset. And you said at a certain point, your mindset completely shifted. And that's really how you were able to accomplish everything you have in real estate.
Yeah.
How and when did that mindset shift? And what were some of the thoughts that you maybe transformed?
I would say at this, in parallel to me looking for different ways to invest that will get a better return, I probably also went through a little bit of a midlife crisis.
Okay.
Where I felt that I didn't have the passion that I had in the past, and everything started to feel a little bit repetitive, and there were a lot of fears that were holding me from living life to my fullest, right?
Was this
one of those fears was also like losing whatever we accumulated so far, right? In terms of savings. That's why I was so afraid initially of investing in real estate, right? Until I educated myself and saw the potential benefits. But then I also realized very quickly that investing in real estate, even if it's conceptually very simple, the numbers are very simple, that doesn't make it easy. Especially if you are going for more value-added strategies where you have to deal with big renovation, you have to deal with contractors, then everyone has to deal with tenants, and how if you don't deal with tenants, if you don't find the right tenants, etc., you're going to struggle. So I realized that I had to, as I was undergoing problem after problem, and luckily I didn't give up, I realized that, hey, I need to work on my mindset to build more resilience and to be able to make decisions faster and smoother and, deal with people in the right way, with the right confidence. So I realized that in parallel, I had to invest in myself, because if not, it just wouldn't work. And at some point in time, we struggled because we got into these renovations, and the very first duplex conversion, the contractor we hired, the GC, was a disaster, right? So the project ended up lasting for a full year, the reno. I had to switch GC in the middle. It cost me, 25% more than what I expected. So it was a complete shit show. But you know what? It's a matter of realizing that, hey, this is what it is. Mm-hmm. I always love when Nick says, hey, whoever deals with more shit wins.
Yeah.
It's so true. To me, it's so philosophical. It seems like it's just a simple saying, but you know what? There is some philosophy.
It's a very
that,
blunt,
right?
philosophical saying. Yeah.
And I think Nick is also basically saying, okay, deal with shit and don't give up. Because if you deal more shit, that means that you keep going and you keep doing and you keep learning, and then you build that resilience and you learn. So then you are better analyzing the next deal, better structuring the deal, better dealing with when problems comes again. Hopefully, if you learn something, then the problems may be a new problem that you're not expecting. Yeah. Okay, you have to see that as an opportunity to learn that, so that then you become better on the next deal, right? It is a progression, and one thing that really struck me from the very beginning is that real estate is normally very discreet. You know how, think about someone that is learning how to bat in baseball or whatever. You have to do the reps. Mm-hmm. You have to do the thing consistently, and then you're going to learn and you're going to get better. In real estate, that concept of doing the reps, I believe it's very difficult, because the reps would be like, okay, do a bunch of deals and learn from those. But to do a deal, you need to find the deal, you need money, then you need to deal with all the struggles. So it's very difficult to have a lot of deals, or it takes time, let's say, to have a lot of deals under your belt to be able to say, okay, I did the reps and I learned from that. Mm-hmm. So many people I see this all the time. People that have, maybe just invested in one property or two properties, or they know about someone that invested in one or two properties, and they are really extrapolating from a very small sample of events that is not statistically significant. Sorry, that's the engineer in me. It's not statistically significant when you are basing your decision on just a couple of deals. So someone has buy a first property, everything goes well. Well, they feel super high. they start taking risks that they shouldn't be taking, and they just go for the next deal, thinking that it's going to be a slam dunk, and then they hit the wall. Mm-hmm. Right? So maybe that first deal, that when everything went well, it wasn't enough to generalize that it's always going to be like that. So then they make the mistake in the second deal, or they make the mistake in the third deal, right? But many people, okay, because of the experience of a relative or themselves, what happened in one property, maybe with one tenant or one renovation, they say, okay, it's enough. That's not for me. This sucks. I'm never going to do it again. I said, okay, dude, no, you didn't give yourself enough time to learn this business and learn from your mistakes. Mm. And the one thing that to me is clear is that everyone struggles in real estate. If you want to do it right and get the best returns, you are going to struggle. And you know what? I learned to be comfortable with that. You have to learn that, hey, that's what it is. That's how you really learn, when you struggle and you have to solve that problem. So when people tell me about their struggles, whatever, I said, I don't see it as something negative. I said, yeah, that's awesome. So what did you learn from it? Right? If you can spin it in the right way, that will give you more knowledge and more confidence for the next deal. But many people, unfortunately, give up too soon. Mm-hmm. That's the reality, right? You may know, you may meet a lot of people that, there is definitely something there, but you have to have the patience and the courage to get through all the shit and get to the other side. Yeah. Right?
And so usually there's more shit waiting for you on the other side too.
Yeah.
The shit never runs out.
Different shit, right? Because if you want to do another deal and maybe even a bigger deal, you're going to run into a lot of other stuff and you know what? You have to be comfortable understanding that that's okay. Mm-hmm. Of course, when you are going through that shit, it doesn't feel okay, right? Yeah. But you have to, be able to step back out and it's all a mind game, right? And realize that, okay, you know what is it that I can learn here by solving this problem that I would never learn just studying theory or listening to podcasts, whatever. You really learn when you do stuff, right? That's when you really learn something, right? So you have to understand that, yeah, it is positive that you have run into a problem, even if it doesn't feel good. Mm-hmm. And then you have to, do it again. You have to continue, right? You don't have to give up. I think that's the main killer for many new investors. It's just giving up too soon, which is unfortunate, but you see it all the time. I even was talking to a friend yesterday, right? That they bought a couple of properties, they got excited, and then I realized that they said, okay, now I'm tired of dealing with tenants, whatever, we sold them. We don't want to, that's not for us. Dude, at least, but at the time, their ego didn't allow them to ask for help. Right? Yeah. They were talking about real estate, how awesome it is when they were doing it, but then when shit hit the fan, they just didn't look for the right help and they gave up. So it happens a lot.
Now, it seems like you had a lot of forced growth, doing deal after deal, going through the reps, dealing with the shit, moving on, dealing with more shit. Yeah. How else were you investing in yourself to build this resilient mindset?
Yeah. So reading books, to me, is a must. Watching videos that are inspirational, but not just inspirational, but more with concrete strategies in terms of how you can work with your mind, right? And how you can get better. But I read a lot of the books that Nick and Tom recommended, plus others, and I got a lot from those books. But to me, the most important is that you cannot just read one book and then move to the next book. You gotta read a book, maybe then you have to highlight it, you have to reflect on it, you have to say, okay, how, even if it's like, what little piece of this book am I actually going to apply? Mm-hmm. Because if not, the learning doesn't happen. It's a little bit of a superficial learning, but
it doesn't penetrate.
It's not really gonna change how you operate, right? Yep. So through all those books, I learned a lot about what Tom and Nick call about the neuroscience of success, and how basically the way that you think is going to determine your whole life. So there is a lot of steps and a lot of meat on that concept that I mentioned, but the reality is that everything starts in your mind, right? So how you think about things, events, it matters a lot. Mm-hmm. Because it's your interpretation of what has happened and the implications for the future that matter. And everyone has an interpretation of what happened. No one has an objective, this is exactly what happened. No, you know what happened is it's just an event. But the interpretation that you give to that event in your mind is going to matter, and it's going to matter a lot. So if you run into some problems and you let those problems, pull you down or drive you, more fear in you, whatever, then you're done. You're never gonna move ahead, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you have the right vision and you see, yourself, with certain skills and applying those skills, and that is that type of mindset is gonna translate into you doing things differently, and doing things differently is gonna translate into results, into different results, right? Mm-hmm. The one thing that I realized when I started, working on my mind is that, hey, for many years I was doing things probably almost in the same way, right? I was keeping myself more in a comfort zone and trying to play it safe, but I wasn't progressing. So something needed to change, and that's where I really understood the concept of that, the comfort zone. I don't know if you heard that, but the comfort zone mm-hmm. is actually the most dangerous zone. But we naturally want to stay within the comfort zone because we want to play it safe. And actually, why? Because we're just stubborn? No, it's biological. It's like if you see how our mind and how we evolve as a species, our subconscious is trying to keep us safe. Mm-hmm. Which is fine because it's basically it's based on our survival, right?
Well,
maximizing our chance to survive. But all our basic needs are covered. We are covered right now. We are still gonna be alive, right? So I think that is naturally, pulling us down. And until you don't understand that, hey, you need to get out of your comfort zone, which is by definition not nice sometimes, to be able to learn and to grow. Mm-hmm. That's essential. So for me, understanding some of those concepts and saying, hey, you know what, it truly is, it's all going to depend on how I think and how I interpret the reality. And by thinking in a certain way and doing certain things is how you start impressing those behaviors on, in your subconscious, and how you change your habits. You probably heard this term that, about 95% of what we do is habitual. Mm-hmm. So we may be thinking on something, but then when something happens, we are emotional beings, and our subconscious usually takes over, and the decisions are made out of there. So if you think that, hey, we have a conscious mind, we can think about a new concept, we think we learn something, whatever, but still 95% of what we do. So results are going to be a result of what we do. If 95% of what we do is habitual and doesn't change, then there is no wonder that the results are repeating itself forever, right? So it's a matter of, working on your mind, impressing new thoughts, new learning, repeating, and trying to get that subconscious to change, so that then you start acting differently. You start, every day doing things that you were not doing before. That's going to benefit you. We talk about wealth, but the reality is that it's relationship, it's health related, it's everything, right? It's everything really that matters in life, that you can work on and improve yourself by doing things in a different way, but that starts by changing that mindset, right? And what's embedded in your subconscious that is going to drive that habitual behavior that you want to change, right? So,
did you find that the other aspects of your life that you just mentioned, your relationships, your health, everything improved at the same time that you started really going down this journey of personal development?
Completely, Anthony. To the point that I can tell you right now, hey, the best thing that happened to me about real estate it's not just the result of real estate, but it's who I needed to become, the different person that I needed to become to do what I wanted to do. And then, since that time, I probably lost, 10 kilos. I feel, I have more passion, I have more energy, but that comes from, exercising more. That comes from eating differently. It really comes from from doing things differently. There's one I just came to my mind. There's one book author that is fantastic. I really love him. It's Bob Proctor. And Bob Proctor once said something that initially I couldn't understand until I think about it. He says, Oscar, so people know what they need to do to improve in any aspect of your life, right? So it's not that people don't know what they need to do. The majority of people have a pretty good idea of what they should be doing, but they don't do it. And the main problem is that they don't know why they don't do it. Okay? I know I struggle with that initially, so, but again, it's like, okay, people know what they need to do, but people don't do what they need to do. And the problem really lies in the fact that people do not know why they don't do what they need to do.
Can you give me an example of how you caught yourself in maybe the same mindset trap?
Yeah. So for example, I think this could be related to me or many people that are trying to lose some weight, right? So you know what you need to do. You kind of know what is the healthy food choices that you have to make, right? And you think that you commit yourself to doing it. But then let's say that you don't want to eat bread or candy or whatever, but you still keep the candy and the bread in your house, right? Well, you know what? When you are in a positive state of mind, whatever, I said, I'm not going to eat bread. Perfect. But you're not like that every single day. We have our natural ups and downs. So what you want to do is to work around so that when you have that downtime where you don't give a damn about anything, whatever, and then you just grab that piece of food that is tasty and you love it, even if you know it's not good for your health, but it doesn't care.
That is a very freeing feeling, though. I don't give a damn, I'm eating it. Exactly. That is nice, right? Until 10 minutes later, you're like, I'm weak.
But it happens. I mean, when you are in those down points, you're going to do things that are stupid and
if you're fatigued, your willpower is run down, sure.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But if you protect yourself, for example, by not having the food that you shouldn't be eating, so that when you're craving for that, it's just not there. It would be too difficult to go and purchase it somewhere else. It just takes time. So you're likely going to stick to what you committed, right? Or you want to go out and run in the morning. And okay, you know what? If you make it difficult and you have to think and make a decision, no, just do it automatically. You say, okay, I'm going to wake up, I'm going to put my your tennis.
Have your running shoes set up by the door.
You just put them and you go out, and then you start thinking about life, right? You don't wake up and ponder what are you going to do.
So make it easy for yourself.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
It's very interesting to me because your mindset now is so resilient. It's very impressive to listen to you and the mindset you've developed. But this has only been in the past 5 years. Like I would have had to imagine you had a lot of this before, like when you were a dad, like you had been through a lot of life experience still. But really, it's the last 5 years where you feel like you accelerated.
I feel that the last 5 years, I really changed my life a lot. And sometimes how we hear that, hey, you cannot, or you probably heard this saying that people usually overestimate how much you can achieve in a year, which is totally true because a year is not a lot of time if you want to make some fundamental change. But at the same time, people underestimate how much you can do in 5 years. And actually, I really think that 5 years is a big chunk of time. It's a lot of days. So in 5 years, you can change your life completely.
Yeah, you're living proof of that.
At any age. I truly believe that. I know that anyone can do it, right? But you have to understand that, you can be a completely different person and hopefully, healthier and wealthier and with a different mindset and happier. But it takes some time. it takes some consistency, right? It takes, at least in my case, going to that source and understanding, okay, how our mind operates is going to lead to the mindset you have, the actions you take, the results you get, etc., and working consistently on that mindset by, reading books, going to seminars, talking to people, listening to podcasts, start questioning, okay, how do I feel about this, etc., but if it works for this person, maybe I should give it a try and actually try it. It takes going through that process, and it doesn't happen overnight. For sure, it doesn't happen overnight. Mm-hmm. How we change our subconscious, I think it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
But you know what? If every single day you move the needle a little bit, after a big chunk of days, you are going to see the results.
It's really interesting that real estate investing was the catalyst for all of this change in all other areas of your life. And I actually feel a similar way. Like when I met the very first real estate investor in my life, she was full-time investor living off of her property's income. I was 20 years old. I knew nothing about real estate. She gave me Rich Dad, Poor Dad to read, and she really completely changed my life. She taught me about refinancing properties and all this stuff. But really, it gave me so much hope for my future, because it's funny you mentioned the midlife crisis. I felt like I was going through a quarter life crisis when I was in my early 20s, because I was like trying to figure out what I was going to do, and I didn't want to go down the corporate route. I wanted a small business. I didn't know what I could, what that business would be. I didn't really see any opportunity in front of me until I met this woman who showed me, it's like you can just buy a rental property, rent it out, pull out money, buy a rental property, rent it out, pull out money. And that was the simple formula. There's so many other strategies and all that type of stuff, but it gave me so much hope for my future, and it really gave me a purpose.
Yeah.
Okay, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing, because it's going to open up the world to me.
Exactly.
With the financial backing.
It took time and effort. It
100%.
took you to, understand that strategy, reflect on that strategy, start applying it and learning. And I'm sure you run into a lot of shit like every investor does. And actually what I realized is that if you talk to a successful investor, then they're going to look back and say, I didn't enjoy it at that time, but they will actually feel proud about their struggles and how much they learn from that, and they will feel good about talking about those and helping others with that, right? So it's amazing.
Another thing I didn't understand when I was younger, teenager, early 20s, was how to build confidence. And it seems so simple now. It's like to have confidence in yourself, you have to trust yourself. In confidence, that's the meaning of confidence. I'm confident in myself. I trust that I can do this. And no one had ever explained, or maybe I wasn't paying attention, that it's you need to trust yourself. So you need to put yourself in situations that you don't think you can overcome, and then overcome them.
Exactly.
Because that's how you slowly build trust in yourself. And that's because I always wonder, how does this person have confidence? Maybe I'm not as confident. Why? Are you just born with it? And, maybe some of that could be chalked up to narcissism. Some people fake confidence at times, right? To have they make it seem like they have competence, but I never understood how you could truly build core real confidence. And it was just trusting yourself.
It's trusting yourself and then having the courage to act on it.
Yeah.
And then you start doing the reps, right? And then when you do the reps and then you learn something, and then that confidence builds itself and it's going to exude out of you. But you have to do it. It's confidence comes by, from confidence, from doing, right? And and getting results. And then...
if you're confident in someone else, it's I'm confident my girlfriend will be there for me if I need her. I'm confident my parents will support me. I'm confident my employee will get the job done because they've earned my trust. It's really just trust.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's trust and also a little bit of faith, right? Taking that leap of faith that hey, you know what? This works for others. It's going to work for me. It's going to feel uncomfortable, but that's fine. I'm going to throw myself there. I'm going to learn. I'm going to adjust, etc. Right? But you keep going.
Yeah.
To me, the key is to keep going, right? To keep pushing yourself out of the comfort zone and being comfortable with being uncomfortable, which sounds silly, but that's the reality. It's really how can you be comfortable by being uncomfortable? Because when you get to that point, and I think I made some progress, but I'm not completely there, I think the sky is the limit. It's just, you're unstoppable.
Yeah.
Completely, so.
Amazing, Sergio.